Outline History of Nuclear Energy. The science of atomic radiation, atomic change and nuclear fission was developed from 1895 to 1945, much of it in the last 6 of those years. Over 1939 to 45, most development was focused on the atomic bomb. From 1945, attention was given to harnessing this energy in a controlled fashion for naval propulsion and for making electricity. Since 1956, the prime focus has been on the technological evolution of reliable nuclear power plants. The idea of nuclear power began in the 1930s, when physicist Enrico Fermi first showed that neutrons could split atoms. Fermi led a team that in 1942 achieved the first nuclear chain reaction, under a stadium at the University of Chicago. This was followed by a series of milestones in the 1950s. The first electricity produced from atomic energy at Idaho's experimental breeder reactor I in 1951. The first nuclear power plant in the city of Obninsk in the former Soviet Union in 1954. And the first commercial nuclear power plant in Shippingport, Pennsylvania, in 1957.
Principles of nuclear power. Or atoms are constructed like miniature solar systems. At the center of the atom is the nucleus. Orbiting around it are electrons. The nucleus is composed of protons and neutrons, very densely packed together. Hydrogen, the lightest element, has 1 proton. The heaviest natural element, uranium, has 92 protons. The nucleus of an atom is held together with great force, the strongest force in nature. When bombarded with a neutron, it can be split apart, a process called fission. Because uranium atoms are so large, the atomic force that binds it together is relatively weak, making uranium good for fission. In nuclear power plants, neutrons collide with uranium atoms, splitting them. This split releases neutrons from the uranium that in turn collide with other atoms, causing a chain reaction. This chain reaction is controlled with control rods that absorb neutrons. In the core of nuclear reactors, the fission of uranium atoms releases energy that heats water to about 520 degrees Fahrenheit. This hot water is then used to spin turbines that are connected to generators, producing electricity.
Advantages of nuclear energy. Nuclear energy is different from fossil fuels. Nuclear power generation is a large amount of pollutants emitted into the atmosphere. Nuclear power does not cause air pollution. Nuclear power generation does not produce carbon dioxide, increase global warming. Nuclear power generation by the use of the uranium fuel, in addition to electricity generation, and no other purpose. Nuclear energy density higher than fossil fuels on millions of times. The nuclear power plant of the fuel used by the small size, easy to transport and store, a 1,000 MUA nuclear power plants a year and only 30 tons of uranium fuel. A voyage of the aircraft on delivery to be completed. The cost of nuclear power generation. The proportion of fuel costs lower than the cost of nuclear power generation, not easily affected by the international economic situation. The cost of electricity than other methods of generating electricity is stable. Government response to incident. The first accident notification. When a nuclear accident occurs or is likely to occur, the central and local competent authorities and emergency response organizations should be notified by telephone within 15 minutes. The second accident response. In the event of an emergency preparedness accident, the emergency response organization in the nuclear accident facility should be immediately established and started to operate. And the emergency equipment should be tested. When a plant emergency occurs, the Nuclear Accident Emergency Response Unit shall mobilize all units to carry out various responses, and cooperate with the implementation of emergency response operations outside the facility. In the event of a full-scale emergency, the Nuclear Accident Emergency Response Units should all be mobilized to carry out various responses and cooperate with the implementation of emergency response operations outside the facility.